want to welcome you to the show today.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and it's, this has just been a tremendous journey. It's actually, and it's been really exciting. I mean, and very positive. And when I saw your questions, I was like, I think I know what I want to talk about. And
well, before we get started, tell my listeners who you are, from like where you work, and because you have a really you have quite a history of successes and wins, and bring us up to speed on where you are now and what you've done in the past.
Sure. So Wayne McGurk, and I'm the Chief Information Officer and SVP of IT for the National Rural Electric Cooperative Association. So some folks know it as NRECA, which I've never heard before. But we're an interesting trade association for all the electric co-ops, about 900 of them across the U.S. And besides kind of the typical association things that we do about protecting and advocating and supporting our co-ops that a kind of a more traditional association would do, we also support our cooperatives employees with their pension plans, their 401k plans, and their medical plans. And so we manage this. We're kind of a hybrid association, I would say.
Okay.
But so I've been here now, it will be 1 year, May 20th.
Wow. I know we met probably right after that in June, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And so I remember that we had coffee.
Yep.
And prior to that, I was the Chief Information Officer and Executive Vice President for MoneyGram International. And MoneyGram is a global money remittance or money transfer company, and based out of Dallas. So
yeah, big, and so you were brought in because you have this kind of financial services background, and you wouldn't know it by looking at your association at first glance, would you?
No, and that's it's a little bit of the financial services, a little bit of the healthcare side, so you start getting the HIPAA stuff in there and mixed in, and the transaction side, and then you kind of combine it with that advocacy side of the house. But really, I think what I was brought in to do was to help lead the IT organization, and to work really with my peers on the executive leadership team to kind of, I don't even want to say rebuild, because it was already built. It's a great organization, but it's more about really helping them, the IT organization, become more efficient, become optimized, and to set direction and set strategy.
So efficiency, set direction, and strategy was why you were brought in.
Absolutely.
So what are you finding out these days? What's some of the things that you're taking away? You're clearly have the opinion that this is a great opportunity. In what way?
Well, I joke with my team all the time. I call it the debit and credit, the T account. And I said, right now we can build up, from an IT organization perspective, a lot of goodwill. We can build up a lot of credit. And the way we do that is we focus on customer service. And that's what we've been doing. But, I can get into kind of the technology side. Yeah, we got lucky and we called it early. We started getting all the licenses, getting the infrastructure checked out. We started doing all the things that we needed to do to handle a remote workforce.
Okay.
And then we quickly reacted when we started seeing stress on our systems, and we had to buy more MIPS and We had to, get and buy redundant NACs and increase our bandwidth. But you know what? The thing that I'm most proud about is our response, and that my team has been absolutely awesome. And I tell them this every day because, this is a scary time, and this is going to be a little untraditional here, Bill. I'm not going to talk about technology. I'm going to go to the softer side of leadership here. Okay.
Please do.
And, in times like this, as IT leaders, we want to be in control, right? We like ones and zeros. They're binary. We can work them, and we know what's going to happen. Unfortunately, the time we're in is it's chaotic. We don't have control. Things are changing rapidly, and the thing that I'm most proud of is what my team has showed in being able to say, okay, I know I can't control this. I know I can't change this. And they've recognized that.
Yeah.
But then on the reverse of it, they know what they can change and what they can control. And I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. And what I'm kind of calling courage. Because it's saying, I don't have control over this change. I don't have control about, what's happening in the world. And part of that is being able to articulate and understand, hey, we're vulnerable right now as individuals. And the team has really talked about that. And and it's okay to share those scary thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But what, the things we can change and the things we can control, we've made headway on. And there's wisdom in that. And it takes courage to do that. So when I think about it, it's that courage. And it reminds me, so you're doing 100 interviews. I have 100 days of leadership quotes.
Yeah. That's great.
So
That's great. I love that.
We started this a while ago, and we're on 59 right now. And the quote today is from Robert Lewis Stevenson. And I'll kind of connect the dot for you. His quote is, keep your fears to yourself, but share your courage with others. And I just thought that today's quote was really meaningful in what I wanted to talk about.
Can you send that to me?
Absolutely. I got it off the internet. Yeah, absolutely. I just been going through, you can see it's well worn. We have an ops meeting every morning. And so at the end of the ops meeting, it's they turn it over to me, and then I give a little history on who's the quote from, and then I provide a quote. So we've had, Grace Murray Hopper, John Maxwell, Jack Walsh, Lyndon Johnson, Winston Churchill.
Yeah, I love that. I just had a guy on my podcast 2 weeks ago. Ironic, I've known him for 30 years, and I lost touch with him, and he popped back onto the scene. He wrote this book called Fear is Fuel. And, I read a lot, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not really sure about this, but let me read. I got the book before I interviewed him, as I normally do, and I was stunned at how much research he did. He interviewed 36 of the top neuroscientists, and this is being released very shortly. There's actually, so the part of our brain that's triggered now is actually it's not a good part of the brain. It's good if you're in Serengeti.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly. It's the amygdala. But courage and bravery, and I'm going to throw another word, courage, into it, and bravery. You used the word bravery, versus fearlessness. Like, that whole word fearlessness is really not appropriate right now, because apparently he was explaining this as well. there's no subconscious paradigm for what we're going through. So there's because it's never happened. Like it's not like we're going into the slums and that like, well, we know that like we're walking into an area of the city that's not, or we're going into a bar late at night. Like there's a certain set of circumstances that can happen. Or we're walking out in a sub-zero temperature in our shorts. Like we know there's something going to happen there. But like this situation is totally is complete chaos and the unknown. So the only option is to be brave and courageous, because fearlessness comes through patterns over time. Like skydiving 100 times, you develop fearlessness, but not on the first time. It's the 50th, 60th, your heart rate goes down because it no longer triggers you. Well, right now, what are we going to have? 45 pandemics? We've never had this.
We'll be better prepared.
So the option is courage and bravery. So I love this. I like talking to you, Wayne, because I'm getting some really new material to share with people, and this courage bravery theme is a big one. And I also like this 100 days of leadership.
It's been, there's been some that have been, don't get me wrong, they're not all fantastic, okay? Yeah. But they have been thoughtful. And actually it's created some discussions and actually some great laughs too. And we pass it around. So if I'm not in the meeting, I give it to one of my direct reports, and they'll do it, and then we mark off, and we just keep working through it. But we as leaders right now, we can fight or flight. And if we're going to fight, and that's when true leadership comes out. And I think that's where, I'm afraid. I get the heebie-jeebies when I go to the grocery store, right?
Yeah.
I want to come home and quickly take a scalding shower and burn my clothes. But, everybody's feeling that way. But when it comes to leadership, it's containing that, recognizing it, being self-aware, but then having the courage to overcome it. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think this is where leadership really comes out right now, and where as an IT organization and as an IT leader, because we're so much in the spotlight right now, if we demonstrate those characteristics of good leadership, then we're helping set the tone for the entire organization. Because, and recognizing what can we change, what can we control, right? And saying, I can't change, I can't control everybody's ISP connection.
I love that, because that sense of control I love that, how you're encouraging your team. I'm looking at my notes here as you've talked, and there's things we can control, and there's a tremendous amount we can't. And you like how your team is focusing on things they can control, and being brave and being courageous with the things that they can.
I tell you what, there was about a 7-month gap between when the last CIO left and when I came on board. And so I kind of came into a situation, it could have been, it wasn't chaotic, but it was the unknown. It was both the unknown for me and the unknown for them. But I got to tell you, this team has done outstanding.
That's great.
And part of that is that they've shown leadership. They've shown this concept of courage. They've recognized what needs to be done. They're and the military comes in, they're shooting and moving. Okay, they're getting it done. They're staying positive. Yep. But but we are talking, and they recognize this is a scary time, but that's okay. How do I embrace it? And it's been fun to watch. It's exciting. I get goose pimples thinking about it because I become like a proud, I'm just a proud father. Uh,
Well, it's a huge opportunity to see humanity at it is only one time in human history well, no, this is the first time in human history we've had one enemy, one.
it's a
And
one common enemy. Yep.
one common, and like World War II might have been two, I guess it was Japan and Germany, but one common enemy. And the irony is a little bit extreme for me thinking about it from, we have spent a lot of time securing against the virus digitally, and now we've got, the human biological virus. And so the parallels and the irony is quite interesting to me. But there's one time we've been united. This is the one time to be united, literally worldwide. So
Absolutely.
we're connected digitally worldwide, and now we're finding out how actually connected we are biologically.
And the world has shrunk suddenly.
Yeah, yeah.
It's gotten very small.
One little infection, it's funny, it's like one little infection in the network can spread digitally. One little infection in the globe spread, biologically.
Yes.
So it's quite interesting. So we're going to have a lot to learn as we come out of this. But really appreciate you spending time with my audience and sharing your wisdom today. It's been really profound.
Well, I appreciate you doing this. I'm looking forward to seeing them and gaining perspective.
Well, they were launched last week, but they'll be coming out hot in mass here, because it's just a lot of good learning to have from guys like you that are looking at this and from an elevated perspective, which I think is important right now.
Yep, and one final thought before we go.
Please.
So we've all been reactive up to this point. Now we have to get into sustain. And that, I think, making that shift now is as important as being reactive.
What do you mean?
Well, if you look at it, we've had these lockdowns. First, it was we're moving through the phases, right?
Yep.
Of this, just much like the phases of of flattening the curve. What we've done is we've all this bunch of activity to react and to enable our internal customers, our external customers to keep going. And so we had all this flurry of activity. Now we're kind of shifting into the long run, because this is taking longer now. So now what do the things that we need to do to sustain this over now 2 or 3 months or even longer? And I think it takes a mindset shift, or even a paradigm shift, to say, now what do I get into? You start getting into the abilities, right? The maintainability, the availability, the scalability, because we've kind of shrunk down. Now we've got to, how do we maintain this footprint that we have now? And then in the future, how do we scale it up all of a sudden when folks are starting out, being out and moving and grooving and doing their thing out in public, and things are opening up, and right? And so I think we have to start making that shift a little bit in that direction.
From reaction to sustainability and maintaining
to sustainability, and then it's going to be another reaction again, because it's going to be opened up again.
Yeah, right.
So,
well, I'm rolling out right now a health initiative for my employees, that remote workouts on an app on a phone, because this is the first time since probably the 1840s that everybody's been working at home. It was back in the 1840s, we were all on farms, or at least 80 to 90% of the population was self-employed on a farm. So, and the kids were all there, everybody was there, contributing, but not staring at a computer screen all day. And so, we were physically active and moving around, and not have to necessarily lift weights, but we were physical. And so I think biologically we got to pay attention to, there's something about moving from home to an office space and being mobile, and everybody needs to be aware that they're going to react to this digital environment. We need to open up and get some movement into life. And I think that's an important.
And we're doing it here in the McGurk family. We're doing a lot of yard work now.
You're gonna have a beautiful garden this year, Wayne. Thanks again, Wayne. I really appreciate all your time.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate you doing this. I think this is great, Bill, and keep leading the way.
I will. Thank you again. I appreciate your wisdom.